Hey guys, Billy Helm here, Heirs of Grace Church. We're headed to a private pond and we're going to take the Hope House ladies fishing today. It's March the 12th. It's been warming up the last week. The temperature's been up in the high 70s, low 80s yesterday. So we're hoping that the water's going to be warm enough, the fish start moving in close, and we're going to catch some fish. Amen? So thanks for hanging out with us. Let's see what we can't do. Okay, ladies, who wants the chunk lures and who wants goldfish?
Goldfish. I'll take a goldfish.
Goldfish. You don't care? Okay. Deborah?
Yeah.
Come get your pole before I give it to somebody else.
Thank you.
So a lot better conditions than the last time we were here. Charity caught fish though last time.
Yeah, I caught
right?
fish.
I caught, I don't know, a dozen or so. Wait, 5 or 6, something like that.
There's a mini.
But it's a lot nicer day and the water temperature is bound to be at least 20 degrees warmer. It's been a month and a half. That was probably 1st of February since we were here. So we're gonna go find the fish. So we've come up on this tank. It's a small tank, the water's nice and clear. And so as soon as we pulled up, we seen fish moving. So there's some hungry fish in here. And then our friend, Mr. Turtle there, he's not my friend. But anyway, we're using these little road runners. Great crappie bait, but it's also, if there's bass in here, they'll sure enough hit it. So we're gonna see what we can't do. I got a white road runner with a white grub, kind of a golden tail. I don't know if that's just from aging in my tackle box or if that's the color it's supposed to be. But we're hoping with this murky water that it'll attract some fish. And the water's shallow here, so I'm going to keep my rod tip up in the air. Really don't want it dragging the bottom. Yeah, that's a little bigger fish right there. I was in West Texas one time, true story. Me and a buddy was out in the middle of nowhere, out in Knox City, Texas. Population like 200 people. Nearest town, no telling how far away. It's the kind of place that if you don't have much gas in your vehicle, you may want to reconsider driving off. But we pulled up on a tank that was probably, I could almost jump across it. And I said, what are we doing? He said, we're fishing. I said, there ain't no fish in this hole. He goes, yeah, there is. It was covered in algae, solid algae. We got 2 poles out. He had some frogs, some plastic frogs, topwaters, and we threw them suckers out. And you had to be careful that you didn't throw it over the pond because that's how small it was. Boom! Every cast. Poof. That thing was loaded with big old bass in it, but it had almost dried up. But he was catching fish in there every week, and that's the smallest tank I've ever seen that kind of fish in. That's a learning lesson that, you know, them fish they'll last as long as the tank doesn't turn over and there's oxygen in the water, they'll live.
Right, but do you think the tank is live now?
Now?
Yeah, now.
I don't know, that was 35 years ago, mate.
So it's probably...
It could have. I don't know, that's West Texas. You know, they get rain. They actually, in some places, got more rain than we did last year.
And they get snow, too.
And they get snow, so it's hard to say, but that is literally the smallest tank I ever fished and caught fish out of. Like that cast right there, I would have threw it over by 10 foot and hit my buddy in the head.
Wow.
Oh, fish on.
You lost it?
No, I got him, but he's not as big as I thought he was. He hammered it. Yeah, he's a little guy. He's a little guy.
Okay, well you caught that fish after your story. You're looking.
Do I need to keep telling fishing stories? He's a little guy, but he'd fry up just fine. Gut him, scale him, cut his head off and throw him in the skillet. You could leave his head on if you wanted, but little guy.
Little bass.
Yeah.
What's that?
It looks like a bite mark, but all right, little guy, go grow up. Well, there's more in here than that. So I slowed my presentation down, way down. Caught a fish. And we'll see if that'll do. Reeling in fast, reeling in slow. I'm gonna let it sink. It's not a very deep tank. Get my rod tip up. Slow it down. Right here has done caught me 3 fish, but he ain't faring so well. But I think I'm gonna leave that on there till it falls off. I was fishing in Fayette one time, and I was using water dogs. And water dogs aren't cheap. They're like $1.25 a piece, but the bass tear them up. You know what they are? They're salamanders. They're amphibious, right? They go from the water to the land. Anyway, every cast I was catching a fish, but I used 1 water dog and caught 7 fish off 1 water dog. That was definitely a record, but they wasn't those kind of fish. They were like hogs. Big old. I caught one so big I got my fist in his mouth. That's big fish, huh?
Sometimes there's stories. You got a lot of fishing stories, don't you?
Well, when you fish all the time, they start to pile up. I do have another really good story. I had a friend, we was fishing Fayette, this is a long time ago as well, but I had a friend call me and said, Billy, I want you to take my dad and I to Fayette, show us where you catch those big bass you catch over there. So I said, well, I need to go home and get some gear, and they're like, nah, you all right, we got gear. Just come on. It was pouring down rain. I'm talking like pouring out of the sky. And I love fishing like that. But he had a big old boat with a big top on it, so we stayed dry. But his dad collected these poles. They were antique, they're old Mitchells. And the one I was using, he said, boy, take care of that pole, it's older than you are. Anytime you hear something like that, you know, it's like, well, sure enough, we start hammering them. And he is a big old guy, up there in years, and he was having a hard time. He was sitting down, he was having a hard time taking the fish off. So I hit the pole between my leg, and I reached down and I grabbed that fish. It was a hog. I grabbed him by the mouth and started to take that hook off, and just about that time, big fish took that pole off in the water. And he looked at me and I thought he was going to cry. I said, man, I am so sorry. That antique fishing pole that was in mint condition, that was older than I was now on the bottom of Fayette County Lake. I got to do something about that snag. But anyway.
Did you ever find the pole?
Oh no, get this. So he pouted the rest of the day. We went home after we done caught, I don't know how many fish. We probably caught 50 fish, but we released them all. I went back that next week by myself in my boat. God is my witness. I was fishing around the cove on the other side of the peninsula, and I caught that fishing pole back.
Did you give it back to him?
Yeah, and he lives in Ohio. I called him. He said, no way. I said, dude, that was before cell phones, so I couldn't send him a picture. But what happened is I lost a fish. I was reeling in a big fish, man, and boom, he got off, and I was like, dang it. So I start reeling it in, and as I was pulling it up, I noticed there was some line on my line. I was like, oh darn. So I started pulling it, and I was like, man, there's something on here. You know, it wasn't a fish, but I could tell there was probably a fishing pole. So I pulled up, and it's that pole.
In your hand, did you think it was
No, I was fishing around, like, I mean, there was trees I was fishing in, stick-ups. That thing that was God who did that for me. Anyway, I didn't know the Lord then, but it was a good testimony builder anyway. So I called the guy, and I said, you're not going to believe this. I caught that pole back. He said, there ain't no way. I said, not only did I catch it, I caught it in a different location on the lake. I cleaned that rascal up, and see, he knew. The odds of me finding that, because it was a reel pole combo. So it wasn't just a reel, it was a reel pole combo that was an antique Mitchell. So the pole was Mitchell, the reel was Mitchell. If I remember right, it was a 210. Had a round gearbox on it. I mean, it wasn't like I could go find that anywhere. So anyway, that was a heck of a fishing story right there.
Did you mail it back to Ohio?
I did, I shipped it off to him.
Wow.
You know, that same spot right there is my favorite spot to fish. I caught a lot of fish out of that spot. One time, this is when I done got rid of my bass boat, and I moved to a pontoon for my family, you know, to try to get them to go more. And I was out there by myself, and I was reading my Bible, and the fishing was real slow. And so my pontoon boat, I had it to where I had pole holders all the way around it, you know. And I was lounging on the couch, and I was reading my Bible, true story. And I hear a splash, and I look over, and this carp, he is probably this big. His head was this big. He comes out of the water and just stares at me, doing this. I'm like, what is up, dude? And he's just sitting there. For about 10 seconds, he looked at me, and then swam off. Isn't that something? God's creation, amazing thing.
Now you're gonna catch a fish.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was hoping. Get up underneath their belly like that, okay? Or you can stick your finger in their mouth. Get that hook out of there. Then we want to Well, that wrapped up another Hope House fishing trip. The ladies had a great time, caught a few fish, and we all learned a little more patience. Amen. Hey, I look forward to wetting a hook with you in the near future, but until then, Lord bless you.